I told my college coach, Stacy Slobodnik at Michigan State, I was like, hey, I'm thinking I'm going to apply at these jobs. It was like Georgia, Auburn, UCF, and then like a month later, she's like, you don't need to go to those other jobs. Can you come back to Michigan State?
Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to the Whole Story Podcast. I am Jonathan Hill, joined by my good buddy, this direction maybe, Robby Woodard. If you didn't catch it this past weekend, there was a couple tour events. The first one we want to mention is the Senior PGA Championship. Steve Stricker, who decided to have on his bag his daughter, Izzy. That's Izzi. I think that's a palindrome. Is that right?
Sure. It
Yeah.
was apparently it was her birthday, or maybe he missed her birthday, and so this was like a birthday present. Hey, you want to come caddy for me? So
So does she still get the 10% caddy cut on that, or is it sort of like, baby, I've been carrying you for however many years now, and
yeah,
or maybe a new set of golf gloves? I heard she plays golf too.
she's a really good golfer. She won. I think she just finished her junior year in high school, and she won the state title for her team. I think she was the medalist. So maybe a new set of clubs. I don't know if they have any trouble getting those. So maybe the inheritance. Maybe just her cut goes to inheritance.
There you go. Maybe she skips an order ahead of any other siblings since she was on the bag and he ended up winning. So
Yeah,
I kind of wonder. Let's see, how old are you? Is it 55 to be on the senior tour?
50.
50. So 7 years, I could teach Micaiah how to maybe become a caddy for me, and then he can carry my bag. Although he's a middle schooler, and the reality is he just complained about carrying a bag that much. I
Yeah,
can't
you
imagine it
you
would
would
go
have to
well.
get qualified to be on the PGA Tour at
Well,
that point.
there's
Yeah,
always that. Yeah, we're ignoring the fact that I'm not necessarily qualified to be on the senior tour. Um, on the younger boys tour, the PGA Tour, the Charles Schwab Challenge, winner was Emiliano, and I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly. Robbie, who did some great research earlier on how to pronounce his last name. It's Grillo, for all of you asking. And this is actually, we'll probably put this in the notes somewhere, a tweet from 2016 where he actually told us how to say this out loud. So another tournament that I think just kind of shows the depth of the field in terms of someone that I've never heard of coming up, taking a win, and not only that, taking it into my favorite baseball term, extra innings. Sudden death playoff holes. I think it made it to the second one, right?
yeah. It was and it was an incredible bounce. I was watching it with some friends, and he hit the ball. It started fading off to the right, kicks just over the bunker, shoots left, rolls up to 5 or 6 feet. So it was
Yeah,
it was incredible.
it looked to be a pretty easy-ish shot compared to probably what he had to work with all the weekend long. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
I
always
don't know if
good.
you saw this, John. I got to point this out. They have highlights on the PGA Twitter, Instagram, all this stuff, and I think we even shared it on the Best Ball Instagram story. But he made a double bogey at the end of regulation and he's thinking I'm out of it. So he's just sitting there kind of warming up, just in case, right? There are these two young kids, and he says, "Hey, do you want to hit a shot?" And he says later, like, I did that because I was kind of frustrated. This just took my mind off of what I'd just done. So he's got
Sure.
these two young boys out there using his clubs, just hitting a couple shots. And then he turns around and goes to this playoff wins. Then he takes them into the locker room with him, gives them stuff like for
That's
those. He
crazy.
said, somebody did that for me when I was a kid, and I
Yeah.
never forgot it. Hopefully they don't forget it. So it was a really cool thing to do right after you or during, a frustrating time of making a double bogey on the last
Yeah.
and then winning a tournament and a playoff. So good job to
Sounds
him.
like a guy who definitely deserved the win, right? If you're going to go and take that approach, even after I mean, if you think about it, the ups and downs and trying to manage your emotions, you do a double bogey, you think, I mean, granted, you're going to get second, which probably isn't going to suck, but to be able to have the wherewithal to not push off kids. And I mean, he went way beyond just like signing a ball or something as you're sort of walking off the 18th.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
Yep.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, enough of that. We don't go in depth on recapping PGA or any pro golf events or whatever. We like to bring on guests, and if you notice, it's just the two of us right now. You're thinking, "Where's your guest?" I'm about to turn this off. Well, don't do it. Especially if you're a Michigan State or a North Carolina fan, and if you're not, still don't turn it off. Uh, one of my friends, I've known her for a while. She played golf at Michigan State, and you'll hear this in a second. Now is the head coach for the University of North Carolina women's golf team, Aimee Neff. She joined me a couple days ago. Jonathan was unavailable at the time, and because of her schedule, we had to kind of do the chat early. So she joined me. We're going to add it in here and go with that. The one thing I did forget to ask her being at North Carolina, I'm a South Carolina Gamecock grad. They play the first football game of the year, and I forgot to ask who you think is going to win. I know she'll say North Carolina. I'll say South Carolina. We'll just, agree to disagree on that. But anyway, so we recorded this a few days ago. Let's hear from our guest, Aimee Neff. Well, today we're joined on the Whole Story podcast by a friend and a well-known person in the golf world, Aimee Neff. Aimee, welcome. Thanks for being a part of this.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on here with you, Robby.
Yeah. So I'm going to give a quick rundown, and I'm going to skip over a ton of things because in your golfing history, there's a lot of stuff. So Aimee played golf at Michigan State, originally from Indiana, and had an amazing high school career. I think I saw a 68, 69 scoring average as a senior, kind of ridiculous, but played golf at Michigan State. She was all Big Ten 4 times. Her team won the Big Ten championship her senior year. Then she went on and won the Illinois and Indiana state championships back to back. So just hopping back and forth from state to state, winning their major amateur events. I know you played on I think it was the Futures Tour as a professional. You played in the U.S. Open 2012, is that correct?
Yes.
Man, so then you were an assistant coach at Michigan State, Vanderbilt, North Carolina, became a head coach at Florida Atlantic, and then now you're finishing out your second season as a head coach for the University of North Carolina women's golf team. And one other side note that many don't know is Aimee decided to run her first half marathon the night before she did it here in Columbia. It was one of those, hey, Andrew and I are running a half marathon tomorrow. And you said, I'll do that. And you went out there, and I would like to point out that you beat Andrew Ekstrom, which is always fun to remind him of. So, Aimee, again, thank you for being part of this. You've obviously got an incredible golf history, but I guess just to open up, when and how did you first start playing golf?
Well, Robby, you left off the really important detail that you caddied for me in
Oh,
Charlotte.
I was going to get to that. It might be the worst caddy experience you've ever had, but yes,
no, not at all, not at all, not at all. So no, I'm sorry, but how did I get started in golf? Is that what you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was fortunate that I grew up with older brother and older sister, and we played sports a lot. So soccer, basketball is obviously king in Indiana. And so my parents went to Butler. I grew up, being a big basketball junkie. And my grandparents were the ones who got me started in golf. And so, I think I have a picture up in my office where I was like, I'm a little girl with some plastic clubs, probably like 5 or 6. But I always say, give the age of 10 is when I started. And I remember, I think my first tournament ever, I remember I finished 3rd. Not to mind that there was only 4 participants in the field, but I was like, top 3 finish.
Absolutely.
And all that to say, I just, my grandparents, I give a lot of credit to them for getting me into it.
Okay. Well, from your competitive playing days, obviously playing through, from let's say 10 through college, and even after as a pro, what's kind of your favorite memory in your playing days? Anything stand out?
There's a lot of things that stand out. Obviously, getting to play in a U.S. Open was a big deal in 2012, and I remember having practice rounds with like Suzanne Pedersen. Getting to play.
Where
with
was
her.
that played?
That was at Black Wolf Run in Kohler, Wisconsin. So
Okay.
it was just beautiful. The whole experience was awesome there. But I think sometimes it sounds crazy because we won Big Tens my senior year in college at Lakeshore, and it was Northwestern was hosting, and Purdue had won nationals the previous year, and my first 3 years we had finished runner up. So Purdue was just really good at that time, and they had all 5 players back from their national championship team, and so for us to beat them my senior year, that was just it was a very I couldn't have asked for more of a storybook ending. So I had that. I'm giving you 3, so sorry.
No, this is perfect. Yeah.
And then I remember my senior year of high school, we were down, this was insane, college golf in Indiana, a little different, but we were down 25 strokes after day 1. And we came back and won, which only because the weather is crazy in college golf. A couple of girls shoot 70 something and someone else shoots an 85, and those scores quickly changed by 25. So I remember we went from sixth to first. And I mean, I think I finished second individually. But I just know that that was actually, it was so surreal. I can remember one of my teammates telling me, Aimee, why is your dad running to us? And I was like, and my dad never runs. I don't know why he's running. He's like, you guys won. And so when he said we won state, I was kind of a surreal moment as well.
That's crazy. Was your dad the coach or
No, no, he was
no?
just being a dad, just being a
He's just a
spectator.
dad, just running
Yeah.
laps around the green.
He was just super excited. And that was just rare because he's not the most animated man. So for him to show some hustle like that, and we were all just like thinking, yeah, we probably moved up a few spots, but this is, live scoring wasn't real big, maybe every 9 holes or something like that. So obviously it was you're more in the dark of where you're at, but it was a windy day and the scores changed a lot because it was in October and we happened to win. So that's one of my favorite memories for sure.
Very nice. Well, you mentioned this earlier, but maybe one of your worst memories. I got to caddy for you at a professional event. For some reason, you let me do this. This was in Charlotte. I don't even remember the course, but
Rain Tree.
What was it?
I think it was Rain Tree, I want to say.
Okay, that's like right. That. Yeah, I don't remember why you needed a caddy. Maybe you just didn't have anybody, and you're like, yeah, you can come do this and stuff. But for me, that was, I can say, hey, I was a caddy for a professional golfer one time. And the one thing that I really remember from that round was I think you hit a shot or somebody hit a shot out of a bunker, and there was another ball in there, and I was like, all right, the caddy thing, I gotta go rake it. And you said, hey, wait till so and so hits, just so they don't, say it's a rule violation or something. I don't know. I mean, you might remember that you played how you played, and I just remember that part of it. But it was a lot of fun. I appreciated the opportunity to do it. I did not get asked again. So.
No, I think that was more an indicator of where the tournaments were being played. So if there was something in Columbia, I'm sure I would have asked you because I think the futures are now it's called, Epson Tour is, I think they have an event down in South Carolina and they've had some bigger purses down there. So I'm sure if I was still playing, I actually got reinstated as an amateur and I played in my first event since being an amateur. So I just finished my 10th year in coaching. So obviously that was over 10 years ago that you would have caddied. And I played in the Georgia Women's Open last summer. So that was pretty exciting because I didn't know what to think. I just knew there was a regional site there. So I was thinking I'm just helping prepare. And our team played there this past, actually in April. So not that long ago. And I finished in the top 10, which I was really pumped about because I did not know how I was going to go after 10. I hadn't played anything competitively for a long time. But that was kind of like you just as a coach, you get to get a lot of visual reps and I say in practice that way. But I was super pumped to do something somewhat respectable and get to play again.
Do you feel that being a coach and kind of instructing, teaching your players has maybe helped you because there are things that you see on the other side of playing that you can then maybe now kind of talk about old man basketball, right? Like the older you get, it's like the little things to do. But is there anything there with playing after coaching for a while?
That's a good comparison. I like the old man basketball, like old woman golf. I think that is true. Like I
didn't say old woman golf.
No, you're fine. You didn't. I did, but I think you do learn to just put things in perspective better. I think it's so hard to have it when it's so different. I think even now for me to play, if I go play with our girls or whatever it is, I mean, it's just a different perspective. And also knowing my livelihood isn't dependent on whether or not I'm making the cut. And I know I'm still getting, a paycheck, which is a big deal. And obviously there's no guarantees in women's sports is trying to continue to increase that. But I think that it certainly has helped me to be a coach and just get to see like how it's not from a technical standpoint. I think it's just like managing my mind and my emotions better and being able to put myself in a better headspace and how I frame things and the way I talk to myself. So, I mean, you hear about that all the time. And I think that's something that, it would be interesting if I were to like commit 5 years and be like, oh, I really want to. But honestly, I don't think that the lifestyle is super appealing to me. But but yeah, getting to go play, the competitor side of you loves competition. And I still do. And I mean, I get to have scratch that itch just by being a college coach. And I'm incredibly thankful to be where I am today.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. You talk about the mental side of things. And I think that's part of wisdom from being a little older and kind of seeing it from a different perspective and knowing that, like you said, if you're playing in an amateur event, not every shot matters. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. But anyway, well, you obviously were a good golfer and still are, I'm sure. But how many hole-in-ones have you had in your life?
I've had 6. I've had
6.
the the last one I haven't had them since I played competitively, but I did have my last one was in Australia. I played on the Australian tour like the last like little bit that I was playing,
Mhm.
and it was like a slam dunk, so it was a pretty cool one. Similar, I know that that's just like a surreal feeling where I just hit a 7 iron, it flew straight in the cup, and it was at like the Aussie Masters, and it was pretty cool. Kari Webb won the event. I mean, I made the cut, but I wasn't winning or anything like that. But that was still like a positive one, so that was a
Yeah,
pretty cool experience.
kind of like Michael Block in the PGA,
Yeah,
just
pretty much.
seven
Yeah,
iron straight in the hole.
it was a 7 iron. It's cool. I've had four with my 7 iron, one with my 9 iron, and one with my 5 iron. So yeah,
Wow.
if I'm in doubt, I go with an odd club.
Yeah, well, none of the 14 clubs that are in my bag at any point have ever produced a hole in one. So maybe someday I'll figure out which one does. So, well, how did you get into coaching? Like, talk to me about the transition from your playing days to coaching. How did that happen?
Yeah, so I'll take you back. Like I used to love like bios as a kid. Like I would print out all my players' bios and put them up in my room. It could have been flipping Jackie Styles in basketball or Jeff Gordon in NASCAR, which was crazy. So like Vince Carter or whoever it was. I used to like love stats of athletes and things. And
Yeah.
I remember I had three goals as a kid, which was one was to go to a top 25 school for whatever sport I was going to play. Two was to be a professional athlete, and three was to be a coach. And I always thought it would be in basketball. So is I just started accepting recently in the last few years I'm in golf, but I was playing and I knew I had a lot of other interests. I considered going back to school. I had applied to grad school when I was coaching at Vanderbilt, and I was thinking about going back to school to get like a master's, whether it was going to be in like sports psych or counseling or something of that nature. And I was having dinner with a friend who was actually the assistant coach at North Carolina at the time, and I knew her from fellowship on tour, and she's like, you should think about getting into coaching. And I was like, oh, okay. And I used to coach basketball in the off season, so I mean, I was like, sure, golf, like maybe. And there was a couple jobs that were opening up as an assistant, and I told my college coach Stacy Slobodnik at Michigan State, I was like, hey, I'm thinking I'm going to apply at these jobs. It was like Georgia, Auburn, UCF, and then like a month later, she's like, you don't need to go to those other jobs. Can you come back to Michigan State? The assistant coach was taking the head job at Tulane, and so, anyways, I was really fortunate to get to start to work at my alma mater, and Michigan State had been in the top 25, has been for a long, long time, and get to learn from Stacy. She's in the Hall of Fame for our Women's Golf Coaches Association, and just was very fortunate to work for her for 3 years, and that kind of set me up. And then I got the opportunity just to kind of keep working my way to places where I wanted to be at, and that was very just got to keep answering the phone. I never took a job really with the intention that I was going to leave again, but that it certainly has worked out very well, and I'm very happy to be at North Carolina now.
Yeah, well, talking about bios and stats, I did see, just double checking what I knew, that you were quite the basketball player as well. And I think senior year had the all-time 3-point record in the season or in a game or something like that. So yes, quite the basketball player as well. And I'll mention ping pong player, anything competitive, right? So anyway. So what's it like coaching at North Carolina? I mean, obviously, you think North Carolina basketball is huge, football is big. What is it like, wearing the North Carolina colors? I mean, you got Nike, you got the Jordan brand. I mean, what is it like coaching golf there, just being a coach there?
Well, I say like so whenever I first got the job at Vanderbilt, the head coach was like, hey, what's your dream job? And I said to be the head coach at UNC.
I
And
remember
so
you. I remember you saying that back in the day.
yeah, so when I got the chance to be here, and the reason why it was my favorite school is because people always think it was because of basketball, but it was actually because of women's soccer. And women's soccer has won 22 national championships at UNC. So if you think back, like the 99ers, like Mia Hamm, Carla Overbeck, like they were like Christine Lilly, I mean, that was what women's sports just like took off. And so that was really a transformative time for me. I think that was my main inspiration, motivation was just seeing, UNC, we like to even say, so we've won 60 national championships, university national champions, but 40 of them have been or over 40 have been in women's sports.
Yeah.
Obviously women's soccer is a lot, but then there's field hockey, lacrosse, tennis just won their like seventh, like this week. Women's basketball's won. So there's so much greatness around here, and it's obviously a top 5 public university. So athletically, it's outstanding. Academically, it's top notch. And being from Indiana, any change in topography is welcome, in my opinion. So the fact that you can go 2 hours and go to the ocean, or go a couple hours and go to the mountains, it's more temperate. So to actually coach here, I've just been so fortunate where the other coaches have been awesome. Like they're great mentors to me as well. And, I'm down the hall from our men's program, which is top 5 in the country. They're a favorite to win nationals. And so I get to learn from, I think, just a lot of greatness around me. And I think knowing that the expectation, the standard here is for us to contend on a national level, to win ACCs, win national championships. And it's something that we know it takes time to build. And that is, it's just a great honor to be here. So I love getting to learn from people that were like my childhood idols, and knowing that I'm talking to coaches who I really look up to, and our women's soccer coaches to lacrosse to Hubert. I mean, everyone's has been fantastic and very, very welcoming since I've gotten here.
Yeah, just dropping coaches' names on first names out here, just casually. So that's really cool. Well, obviously building championship teams and programs, you got to recruit. And I know you said you're heading off to Germany here in a little while, but I mean that's a worldwide thing, right? An international thing. And what does it take to build a team, and what are you selling? I mean, obviously North Carolina probably can sell itself, right? You mentioned all these other things, but what is it like on the recruiting stage?
Yeah, I think that people really do get drawn to. Obviously, it is a strong brand worldwide. It is recognized, and Jordan brand helps for sure. Like it doesn't matter if a kid's from Singapore to Thailand to France, they all know that they know what the Jordan symbol is, and especially after COVID and watching The Last Dance, I think everyone is remembering him. And I think that to recruit here, it's just, I mean, I talk about I want young women that are high in character and also fierce competitors. I'm biased towards athletes, but that doesn't mean that's exclusive. I just think that, when you find people that it's hard to outcoach someone who out recruits you. So obviously recruiting is the lifeline of the program a lot of times. And we want to constantly be player development and oriented as well. But just knowing that, I think it's more if they have that growth mindset, do they have a hunger and a desire to play beyond college at times? I don't want the end goal to just be at Carolina, but to use this as a vehicle to help you accomplish goals and dreams, whether it's to be an All-American, whether it's to win nationals, whether it's to play professionally. But the aim is just identifying that, and it's just comes from building relationships. So I'm very fortunate. Like again, golf is a worldwide sport, and it's a very global game, and it has taken me places I never would have thought I'd go coming from Indianapolis. So recruiting is just, it's building relationships and just being able to, sell the fact that UNC is trained here. You want to be around greats, and you have that in pretty much every sport. People are trying to be the best at what they do. And I think that kind of iron sharpens iron mentality is carried as far.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 2 seasons in, kind of what was the highlight of the season for you guys?
Yeah. Oh gosh, we just a couple of things. So I have a hard time consolidating right now for you, Robby, but I think we had our first program win in 4.5 years at the Ivy Intercollegiate, and we had back-to-back individual winners for the first time in 25 years, with Kayla Smith
Nice.
winning at Texas A&M, and then Christy Young-Carr winning at Baltusrol. So that was a pretty big deal. And then knowing the most rewarding one was actually our last round of the year at NCAA regionals. We did not advance to nationals, but we had our top 2 players. One was injured, another was coming back from an injury, and so they weren't playing in that final round. And we shot 12 under as a team, which tied a record that we set earlier this season as the best round in our 49 seasons here. And so for those 4 players to do it, we had, 2 freshmen, a sophomore and a senior, or sorry, a sophomore and a junior. So everyone's coming back next year to shoot like 500, 200, 200. It was great. And so I think this knowing that was really probably the most rewarding round, to see those players like step up. Yeah, Inez, Riley, Megan, Nat, I think it was just really fun to get to see their hard work and effort, and knowing that some of those are not typically in our lineup due to injuries and whatnot. And for them to step up in that way, it gave a lot of momentum for, I think, where we want to start off the season in August.
Yeah, they're gamers, right? You put them out there and they turn it up. And you said they're all coming back?
Yeah, they're all coming back. We have a pretty fun schedule. I know you've talked about this, I think, on previous episodes, but we're actually playing at St. Andrews this fall. It's like yeah, it's an inaugural event that is going to be on the Golf Channel, and it has Vanderbilt, Notre Dame, Georgetown, and University of North Carolina. It's the men's and women's programs from each. It's like in October. But yeah, we get to play a couple rounds on Jubilee, then the final round on St. Andrews, so the old course. So pretty pumped about where we get to head.
Man, it sounds like Jonathan and I know North Carolina, you'll probably have a few videographers, but it sounds like Jonathan and I need to come document with some best ball stuff in the whole story podcast.
For sure. You should have to come over. It should be a requirement. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. We'll figure it out and try to be there. You say it's this fall, huh?
Yes, yes, late October.
Very nice. Well, what you mentioned earlier, y'all are doing some stuff there. Your office overlooks the course. What is the home course for North Carolina?
So we got Finley Golf Club, and we're supposed to open up. Actually, everything's been going on track, which is great, in September. So just a couple months, and the Davis Love. Davis Love played here. He's doing the redesign, and he is doing a great job. We're really excited about it. Our men are hosting the NCAA regional in 2024. So next spring they're hosting regionals, and then our women's program we're hosting in 2026. And we typically host an event here each year, but I mean, I remember playing here when I was in college. We used to come down here and play the Tar Heel, and it was always one of our favorite events. That Ruth's Chris sponsors it. They provide food for everyone. One of our an alum, her dad was like CEO of Ruth's Chris, and so he helped sponsor the event. Mike O'Donnell still is involved with it, and he does an awesome job. So we're very fortunate to have that support. But it's a great golf course we have here.
Yeah, I remember a year and a half ago or something, we were up there visiting with Archie as we were doing the college tours search and stuff. And when we reached out, you said, "Oh, this just happens to be the weekend that we're hosting our tournament." So, Jonathan and I, we will travel to come play some golf. So, can we come play with you at some
Yes.
point?
Oh, for sure.
Perfect.
I'd love to have you. Bring Archie too.
All right, we'll put it on the list. He's going to be running track at Wofford starting next year. He's graduating in high school, and so yeah, he's
Okay. And Connie Ann, where is she now?
she's a rising junior, still in high school, so they're doing well.
Mhm.
Yep. So yeah. Well, let me ask this. I've never really thought about it too much, but I was thinking, you've got players from all over, and golf is a pretty, I'll say, kind of individualish type thing, even though you're playing on a team. And players get picky about clubs, manufacturer, balls that they use and all this stuff. How does that work? I mean, obviously you're sponsored by Nike, by the Jordan brand, but how does it work with like clubs and golf balls and stuff? Does everybody do their own thing? Do you all have a preference? Like, hey, now you're here, you're playing, Titleist stuff or what? How does that work?
Hmm. No, we let them. I mean, we do have obviously like Nike's what we wear from like a clothing standpoint, but obviously since they're kind of out of the golf sphere, they're not doing anything with like clubs or equipment that way. So that frees us up. Where I've had a girl, pretty much everyone on our team has played Titleist. We've also had some with Strixon or TaylorMade as well. So we can order things specifically to what each player plays. There's nothing mandated on them. So if someone I just was we did Titleist this morning. I've done Callaway, done Ping, whatever it is. So we certainly go with whatever is going to be the best fit for them. And we'll do fittings pretty much every year to some extent with someone, whether obviously they're getting wedges pretty regularly, but irons, drivers, fairway woods. So that's something that it's kind of a big development between when they're 16, 17 to then when they're 21, 22. They certainly are picking up club head speed and have to have a different shaft and
Hmm.
kind of make those equipment changes. So, but we're flexible. We just order from the different companies and get fittings that way.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm probably going to be looking for new clubs. So Jonathan and I keep joking that we need to find a club sponsor or ball sponsor or something for the podcast. But Archie has been using my clubs, my old Titleist clubs. So I have a feeling that he's going to throw them in his car and take them to school with him. So I'm going to be in the market for some new clubs here at some point. So if you got any recommendations, let me know. But
Okay, that's a good excuse for you. Yeah, to get an
I
upgrade.
know,
That's
I know,
perfect.
but
Yeah.
that just makes the whole college experience a little more expensive when you have to say, "Dad needs new golf clubs now." So, yep,
Right.
yep.
Right.
Well, I saw on your bio, and this is kind of a thing that people talk about now in golf, is you're certified in the Aim Point Express.
Mhm.
So is this all that it cracks up to be? I mean, I mean, Max Homa is probably one. I saw even Justin Thomas, after knocking it for a while, is trying it and stuff. But,
Mhm.
people lining up and, feeling where the slope is and holding out fingers. I mean, are you a believer? Does it work? Do you have your players doing it?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen, I've had players at schools do it that are all Americans, and so I mean, it's obviously it works. You obviously, if you're seeing guys on the PGA Tour and women on the LPGA doing it, there's benefit to it. I think as a coach, sometimes to me, it's something that I just want to be aware of the different it's kind of just different ways to read a green and different weapons in your bag of how you might dissect a course. So, whether or not it's something that I'm using as a player, I think I might feel it in the slope, but I'm not calibrating every day. I'm not, so I think that it's just something to me you want to know and be knowledgeable about as a coach. I kind of think of our job as being a gatekeeper and trying to learn as much as we can about things. But yeah, no, I mean, I've seen players use it to great success. And I just think like anything, you get good at what you practice. So if you
Sure.
practice it, for sure, it can be beneficial. And it is something that I'll be curious how it continues to evolve with the green books going away and seeing if that will continue to go away at the college level. We haven't banned them quite yet, but that might be coming for us this fall. So we'll see.
Okay. Is it do y'all have issues with pace of play and y'all's tournaments?
Gosh, I mean, it can be. It's mainly that I think they just sometimes college tournaments just let the fields get too big,
Mm.
because we have at least 15 teams a lot of times, but sometimes it's 18. I mean, sometimes you have 90 to 100 players, which is just too many at times to be getting around. I think you really want to cap it at that like 75, 78 range for pace of play purposes. So yeah, it's not uncommon. Like if we're just playing on our own as a team, we have no problem playing at 4 hours or less. But when you go to a college event, yeah, it's certainly going to be 5 hours plus. So, and sometimes we're playing 36 holes in a day, which is, it's a good 10-hour round of just playing at least.
Yeah. How often, you mentioned maybe getting to play a little bit and playing the Georgia Am. How often do you get to play, and do you ever get out and compete against your players, and are you beating them? I guess that's the question.
I feel confident they can answer for that too, because they know that I can. But I mean, it depends on the day. Obviously, I want our team to keep getting better, and it can certainly go both ways. But no, I think that if I can just get out, like even if it's like a couple of times a month with them, then I'm pretty pleased. If I literally play, 2 times, I'd be pretty excited about it. And hopefully this summer, sometimes I'll get out a few more times, as I have a couple girls that are in town for internships and work and whatnot. So we'll play some of the courses around here. But yeah, I think that it's helpful. It honestly it reminds me of what they feel like a little bit. Um, just to know. And I've played in I say that was the first thing I'd played in that was more than a 1 day event in 10 years, but I'd played in a couple like qualifiers before, which I think is great, because I think when you get to a place where you think golf is simple, you've just lost sight of like it's not as easy as it seems. Like you're never as off as you think or as on. And I think it just is a humbling game to continue to play at in a competitive environment, because that's totally different than just me playing in a scramble or me
Right.
playing with you on a weekend. Is not the same as when you're actually competing in a real tournament. Is a little bit different.
Yeah. When that 3 foot putt matters, and it's not like
Yes.
somebody's not going to say, yeah, that's good.
Yep. Right.
Yep. Yep.
Yes.
Well, let me ask this. Obviously, one of the biggest names in women's golf now is an amateur, Rose Zhang, right out at Stanford. She's back-to-back NCAA. I mean, how good is she? Like, is she just going to dominate in the pro world for years to come?
I mean, when you're comparing her to who my favorite player was growing up, which was Lorena Ochoa, who I think
Hmm.
Lorena, she played 18 of her 20 events. She finished top 3. And the other 2, she was top 10. So that was Lorena. And I can't remember how many she won. It was like, I think Rose just passed that. Rose just has a 60% winning clip, 12 of 20, right? She just surpassed Tiger
Yeah.
and all these other greats at Stanford. So if you just looked at those numbers, it's unreal what she's doing. I think her composure as a young person, she's got such a good head on her shoulders, and clearly is very mature and wise beyond her years. But her work ethic is incredible. I mean, and I think too, it's just the greatness is not lost. Like, when people do something like she won ANWA, she goes and wins like regionals, and she's doing it in like vastly different types of grass, different golf courses. So, and to say, is she going to go dominate on tour? Like, I don't know why not. I don't think I should just say it would be that easy, because I do think
Right.
that the LPGA is incredibly hard. But I mean, I think that sometimes you worry, just like they compared her to Lydia Ko, I think recently, is like, well, Lydia you kind of get burnt out and you're so good, so young and whatnot. I think that, she has something that's working for her at Stanford and in that environment and the people that are around her. And obviously when you start, like, she doesn't look at scoreboards. So I'm curious how that'll work on a tour.
Mm.
But again, with her game and her consistency and her drive and I don't know why she wouldn't have the strong likelihood of being world number one on the LPGA too.
Yeah. No, she's incredible, and hopefully she keeps it up. It's fun to watch. So, well, let me ask. We ask everybody that comes on. We love telling golf stories and kind of remembering that best shot. What is the best shot that you've ever hit?
The
I mean, you have
best
6
shot.
hole-in-ones. It might be one of those, or it could be something else.
Mm. Yeah, sometimes that can be an easy answer because I will say, so Kathy Whitworth, I was playing in the Kathy Whitworth Invitational, and she's like won more tour events than any man or woman, right? I think it was like 88. She just passed away this past year. And I was in high school playing at her event in Mira Vista. And I don't know why. She was like talking to people on this par three, like number 8. And I said, has anyone had a hole in one today? She's like, no. And I go, well, I'll be the first. And I hit a 9-iron up there, and it just like came off the slope and it went in. And I mean, I don't think I could appreciate it, but I was like, and it's weird because I'm not usually that straightforward with someone to be like, oh, I'll make it. And
Yeah.
then I did. So that was probably, that feels like one when you talk about hole in ones, to get to call my shot with maybe, arguably the great, well, she is the greatest winner on men's and women's golf. That was a pretty unique experience. So that one's probably stands out.
You remember the details of it? What hole it was? You say Mira
Yeah.
Vista?
Yeah. Mira Vista. So I believe it's number 8. I'm pretty I feel like 99% of that. And it was like a 9-iron. I don't know if it was like 120 something at the time.
Yeah.
And it was like a front right pin, and it kind of had a little bit of side spin. So that was nice.
Yeah. That's great. Very nice. Right in front of an idol. That's fun. Well, good. Well, we with each of our guests, we do a quick 9, right? So I ask some kind of rapid fire things, and you can elaborate if you want, or you just give a 1-word answer or whatever. So we'll get started on these. What's the favorite course that you've ever played? Obviously, you mentioned you played all over the world. What's the favorite course you've ever played?
I think New South Wales Golf Club, Sydney, Australia.
Very nice. All right. What is a course that you haven't played but you really want to?
Pebble. I think
Okay.
Pebble. Mhm.
I got to ask, have you played Augusta before?
No, it's so funny. I think hopefully there's some UNC people that are connected out there. I did go to a practice round last year when we had a guy on our men's team playing the USAM finals, and he played in the Masters last year, Austin Greaser. But I was fortunate. I did get to walk a practice round. So I'm sure I would love to play Augusta, not to say Pebble's over that, but I
Sure.
feel like
No.
that's like such a simple answer that I
Yeah.
just want to go to Cali.
Yeah, Emily and I went out there a couple years ago and got to see the course. Did not play it, but I've talked to people that have, and they can't stop talking about it. One of our guests a few weeks ago, a couple of them, they had gone out there for a 50th birthday, and there's story after story of them playing it. They said, yeah, that would be one they would go back over and over and over again. So, what is the last thing you tell your players before they go out in a tournament, before they tee off?
Each one of them is different. So I don't think I don't do the same thing each time. One of the things that I've done a handful of times is like I like to have them have a clear intention. So sometimes I'll say, what are 2 ways, like if you had to put 2 words on how you want to show up today. So sometimes someone's say courageous and calm, right? It's like, well, what does it look like for you to be courageous? That just means that I'm committed all the way through impact at my decision, or it's my body language. Calm, I just focus on my breath, but I like to have them kind of in a sense, like those are something that they can control and own, and so stick to. So I think some sort of focus on that can be helpful, but it depends on the players whether or not I'm trying to incentivize them. Of like each person's motivated a little bit differently. If I tell them that they're too down to start, or if I need to tell them, like whatever it is, it's just like you're just going to focus on your pre-shot routine, whatever it is. It's a little bit different, but usually something very positive and belief oriented. And again, something that if they can ultimately own and have that, know that they control that, or something that they can commit to regardless of the outcome, I try to give more process goals.
Very nice. That's great to encourage. Yeah, I'm sure your players appreciate it. I mean, I'm just sitting there thinking like, man, I should think about a couple positive things going whenever I play. So that might actually work. So, all right, let's say you go to Pebble. Who would be your dream foursome?
Oh gosh. Okay, so I want to play with Lorena because she was just so big for me growing up. It's hard to pass up Tiger too, even though, because again, he was so good. I remember cheering against him when I was a kid, but he was what made golf cool, And then I started liking Zach. I'd say Tiger and Zach Johnson. Those are my those are my 4. So Tiger, Lorena, and Zach.
Very nice. Zach Johnson, I know Iowa guy, right? So is it just because of the Midwest connection or what?
I remember him winning the '07 Masters. I remember he laid up on every par 5. And that was like, again, he was just someone who, to me, he was like a stand-up guy, man of integrity, of faith. And he just seemed like he really had a good head on his shoulders. He was really consistent, not a flashy player, maybe someone who I felt like I related to. I don't think anything in my game necessarily really stood out, but pretty consistent. And obviously, not to diminish what clearly we're not the same. So, but I just mean in a stretch, he was just so, it seems like a down to earth guy and had a lot of success and was very steady with what he did.
Yeah. All right. Well, Zach, when you listen to this, you need to add Aimee Neff as an assistant Ryder Cup captain for this fall. So be on the lookout, Aimee. He's going to be calling soon. So
Okay, great.
what's more stressful, being a player or being a coach?
I mean, gosh,
Because being a coach, the club's not in your hand.
yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely better to be like sometimes. I think recently I was like, gosh, I wish I was playing. But I mean, a lot of times I don't envy our players at all. I know it's very hard what they're doing, and women's golf continues to get better and better. So there's is they're very different stresses. Stress, they're not the same to me at all. So to coaches, I mean, I love what I get to do as a coach. I'm like really evading this question because I was like, I still think it's probably a little more stressful playing, but yeah, it's certainly you feel more helpless, right? Because I don't hit any. As I tell my players, like even if I give my opinion on something, like ultimately they have. It's like a caddy relationship in that sense. I'm like they have the final say of what club they're going to hit, and they have to accept whatever they choose. So I still think playing. I know that's like truly more stressful, but yeah, as a bystander it can be painful watching because you're like, gosh, I would love to hit this putt for you right now.
I'd make it. Why can't you?
No,
Um,
I don't know that I want to say that, but you might think that at times, but you know how hard it is. So I think that's again why I don't ever want to stop playing the game to an
yeah.
extent. And hopefully I'll continue to play more because I just want them to know I appreciate what they're doing every day.
Yeah. All right. Who's the most famous person that you've ever played golf with?
Gosh, I have gotten to play with some pro
You can
athletes.
take me off the list. So
Right, I'll take you off. That's tricky. Now it really narrows it down. I mean, Steve Smith, obviously he was kind of an icon at Michigan State, but if I just am thinking straight like ooh, overall celebrity, I don't know that I have any like superstars other than not to again, he's great, but I'm thinking in women's golf, I think that I mean, playing that practice round with Suzanne Pedersen, she was pretty
yeah.
great. So that was impressive.
Have you
Overall.
had any interaction? This is a little side note. Any interaction with Michael Jordan being at North Carolina?
No, I've had interactions with Roy Williams. Coach Williams loves to play, and
Yeah.
hopefully, I would love for MJ to come out. He actually he's got the golf course, the Grove 23 down in Florida, and
Yeah.
one of his right hand men, Darren May, has come out and he's actually kind of helping us design our practice area. So I've gotten to know Darren a little bit. But yeah, if MJ, we'd love to have him come out. So hopefully, he'll make his way up here whenever the golf course opens up again.
Yeah. I mean, he does it for the Ryder Cup. He should show up to the for the North Carolina golf team as well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Very nice. When you're playing, what's the favorite club in your bag? Like, what's your go-to club?
It's a common one, but because of those 4 hole-in-ones, probably the 7 iron. I do really like that club. I just feel like it's versatile. I can hit a lot of different shots with it.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to argue with it. So,
Mhm.
uh, you might have already mentioned this, or I think you have. But in your opinion, who is the best golfer of all time?
Oh gosh, I don't like being these hot take things where it's like they debate things like that because
Yeah.
I said that with Kathy Whitworth, so I could just go with a woman to supersede Jack or Tiger and whatnot. I mean, obviously, I know Jack's had more majors. I still think probably what Tiger's done as like the play has continued to get better and better has probably made him the GOAT. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's offensive to my coach growing up who worshiped the guy that Jack Nicklaus worked on. Again, Jack, fantastic, amazing, amazing. I think what Tiger has done in an era where I think there's even more talent, more competitive nature each week has made him the greatest. And then women, Kathy, Annika, Lorena, there's a lot up there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's hard. Or you can look at it from different angles, different perspectives, and find a lot of different things. So yeah, good answer. All right, final question of the quick nine. National championship game. We'll go any sport except for women's golf.
Thank you.
North Carolina versus Michigan State. Who are you cheering for?
And I'm coaching. I'm
On the
coaching.
spot. Yeah.
God, I'm coaching at North Carolina, but I went to Michigan State. Oh, if Izzo's not there, then forget it. It's fine. But no, I think I'm still going. I think I got to go with North Carolina.
Okay.
I think Stacy might kill me on that, but I probably will stay with UNC.
Okay. All right, good answer. The one that's paying you right now. That's a
Yeah,
good.
the one that's getting paychecks. But I mean, again, what would if you had actually made it harder if you'd said Butler? Because actually,
Ooh,
that was where my loyalty. But I mean, again, I went to when they lost to Duke in the national championship in 2010. I was at that game. It was in Indianapolis, and so that was actually like I felt super. I grew up on Butler basketball and going to all the games. My parents still go to all of them, so Butler always has a special place in my heart.
yeah. So friends of ours, her dad played at Butler back in the day, a long time ago. So, um, yeah, no, man, if that shot had gone in at that
Yeah,
national championship, I mean, it was an amazing game to start with, but that would have been it rimmed out. But anyway, well,
yes.
that's the quick nine. And Amy, I really appreciate you joining us on the Whole Story podcast. Wish nothing but success to you and the North Carolina women's golf team and you as you play. But I really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, Robin. I'll look forward to having you and Jonathan come up here and play. So looking
Sounds
forward to
good.
having
We'll figure out a time. We'll get in touch. That'll be fun.
you.
And
Okay.
and we'll of course see you in St. Andrews in the fall. So
Yes, yes, and then I'll
yep.
go watch Archie run at Wofford. So sounds fun.
There you go. Well, he'll travel around. I don't know. He'll be all over the southeast. So yeah, it might be Greensboro. It might be one of the closer ones. But
Oh,
anyway,
nice.
we'll
Yeah.
keep you posted. So anyway, well, thanks for joining us. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Well, we're going to jump right back in. What may seem to you be about 30 to 45 minutes was just a few seconds for us. But I had a chance to listen to it earlier this week, and I'll tell you, the one thing that caught my attention was how competitive she is. Uh, the craziest story, and I knew this story before, I don't think I connected it to her being a great golfer. She ran the Columbia Half Marathon with like a 1 day notice and beat Andrew Ekstrom,
Yeah.
which is always a good thing, always a fun thing. So, you've known her for a little bit longer though, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So I knew her. I mean, you heard in her talk. I got to caddy for her. I knew her. Another friend was in town, moved to Columbia to do grad school at South Carolina, and she would come in when she was not on the road playing, and so we got to know her. Became friends with her. She became, knew my family, and yeah, just kind of kept up with her. But yeah, one time she was playing in Charlotte, needed a caddy, and she's, I said, well, I can do that, and so I went up and it was an amazing experience, a lot of fun. I'm sitting there thinking, I wonder what I should do. Like, hey, should I help you read a putt or whatever? Should I just kind of stay out of the way? But yes, the story about the half marathon was true. It was probably the night before. It wasn't even like the whole day before. It was the night before. It's like, I'll do that, And so she got up early, met us there, and then proceeded to run very well. But you are right. She is extremely competitive. But she's great. I mean, and she's doing great things for North Carolina. They are going to do very well with her as the coach. So, yeah,
Yeah,
excited to see where it takes her.
the historical aspect of how quickly she's really turned around a program. And it's weird to say UNC of turning around a program, but she mentioned first time in was it 25 years that they were reaching levels that the women's team never had before. I'm looking forward to meeting her in person. She did invite us up to come play Chapel Hill. Mr. Jordan, if you're available, or we'll make sure to coordinate between people. Your
Yeah.
people can call our people. Although he might want to bet a little bit more than what we're comfortable with out there on the golf course.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah,
If we can't make it there, we'll go to his course in Florida.
there we go. Yeah, we'll
There
pick
we
one or
go.
the other. We'll make sure to we'll meet up at some point.
Yep. But anyway, we're very appreciative to Amy for joining us. And hopefully we can get maybe some of her players. She knows a lot of the guys and the coach. Their guys coach just won Coach of the Year for the ACC. Their guys are playing in the NCAA's. Her team just missed out on the final round out at Greyhawk. Jonathan, you and I saw that a couple months ago while we were out in Arizona.
Yeah.
But anyway, much success to her, and it'll be fun to watch and go up there and play at the home course of North Carolina. So anyway, we got the PGA Tour this week. They are heading to Muirfield Village, playing the Memorial Jack Nicklaus's tournament. Jonathan, I got one question for you.
Yeah,
It's not tacos, but do you know
that's right.
what this tournament and this course, what food they are famous for? What do
You,
all the golfers talk about?
I saw the notes ahead of time and I didn't cheat. I did look up which state it's in just to double check. Um, I'm gonna say it's Midwest, the great state of Ohio. I'm gonna go with pretzels, but I'm pretty sure that's not it.
It's not it. It is milkshakes.
Milkshakes.
Milkshakes. I think it's just something with Muirfield Village, right? They apparently just have incredible ice cream or something, but milkshake. So you'll see, I saw Colin Morikawa today holding one up like they love their milkshakes. They'll have them after a practice round, after a round. So yeah, it's the milkshakes. No taco stands, but milkshakes.
I mean, the milkshake sounds good sometimes, but if you just got done with a really hot round, or if you're in between 18 and going to play 36 that day, I'm not sure a milkshake's going to settle well whenever you get to the third hole. But
Well,
I'd be
if you've
willing to
had
give
a
it a try.
bad day of golf, a milkshake could make you
That's
happy.
true.
That is
Yeah,
true.
chocolate milk. That's right. If you knew, sort of like a snow cone at the end of a Little League baseball game, right? If you knew
Absolutely.
you were going to have a milkshake at the end of the day,
Yep.
100%, you had a good day.
It's going to be a win no matter what happens.
That's right.
Yep. So
We'll
yeah,
put
it'll be
that on
fun to
our list
watch.
too.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, that has been the Whole Story Podcast. Please, again, make sure to like, follow, and/or subscribe if you find us on all the different places we are. For Robby, I'm Jonathan, and we appreciate it, listener. Have a great one.